And here we are. Hello, crafters. Sorry running a little late today. Had some stuff going on. We're doing some building today. Building my wraiths now that I have the third in the set. Hello. So yeah, building the Celtic race, talking Warhammer, and celebrating. Because today, we hit 700 subscribers. Yay! I know it's not a big deal for everybody, but you know, when I started this channel back in the day, I vowed that I would take every little win as whatever it gave me. So today, we have 700, which is awesome. For a nerdy little jerk that talks about a silly game filled with plastic toys. Meanwhile, Lady D is drawing art and starting to make a mark as a couple of the influencers that she follows are digging her art. So she's got some cool stuff that should be coming up soon. 26, 27, that goes in the back. Let me see here. So, what is going on? Well, let's see here. New releases this past week. Wasn't much of anything for Warhammer, but the Knight Cerastus finally came out in plastic. And since it's one of the few big knights, because it's actually kind of a big model. It's a little bigger than than the Dominus or the Castellan. But it's in the Codex, if I remember right. So, if Knights really wanted a dedicated melee, figure, it's now a little easier to get. I don't know. I'm a big fan. Melee has kind of sucked in this edition. I've been playing Knights. I've been enjoying them to a point. I'm kind of also looking at potentially getting my Robo Boys some reps. Give them a chance to air out. Mainly because since I'm not all about competitive anymore, I want to play stuff that's fun, but I don't want to play stuff that's just going to get crushed either. So, my robots are fun. They look good, and they are. I've got some pretty models for them that I really want to put some paces through. So I will not be building like metal lists or anything ridiculous like that. But yeah, I want to throw a bunch of undying robots in the table and see what people do about it. So that'll be fun. I'm also As you can see, I've cleared a large portion of the workspace behind me. It's a lot more work than I expected. I had a lot bigger mess than I expected. A little embarrassing. So I was able to get a lot done last weekend. I will get a lot more done this coming weekend. And then the week after that, I'm going to be on call again. So when I'm on call, I'm going to spend a lot of that week working on the studio. Got some big plans coming up. That's how that works. Okay. No, not next week. Not next week. Not next week. Not next week. No, next week I'm available. It's the week after. The week after. Yeah, no, I'm available. We're playing Shadowrun next week. Have no worries about that. Yeah, I'm loving my foray back into tabletop RPGs. I think one of the big things that's going to make it very enjoyable is that once I get some more of the spot here cleaned up, I have a bit of a plan. I picked up a bunch of cyberpunk STLs, like a lot. So I think as I get heavier into the Shadowrun game, I'm going to be printing a bunch of cyberpunk stuff to come out and play. And I'm kind of excited about that. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Warhammer, and I'm not at all like meh. You know, I love me Warhammer. But the idea of building and painting, getting back to my roots, building and painting some terrain. And I should point out the cyberpunk stuff I'm going to be printing is not going to be like full buildings or stuff. No, I've got a bunch of really good greeble kits, so I can build some scratch built buildings. And then instead of trying to use wire and all kinds of junk to make them look the part, I can use less of that, use some, but then I can, let some of these sculptors and modelers that I've given, a couple bucks here and there to over the last couple of years, let them do some heavy lifting. Yeah, and as Ben will tell you, because he knows, Um, I mean, okay, let's first be honest. Cyberpunk is my personal aesthetic. Like, I've been in love with cyberpunk I first read um since I first read um Neuromancer and watched Blade Runner back in the early 80s. Like, I watched them back in the early 80s and I was like, wow, 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 wow. I mean, this is what I'm about, man. This is me. This is, this is where I'm at. The aesthetic, the feel, the look, the smell, you know. So, I mean, it's funny because I play 40K and 40K has it has a dystopian setting that's cyberpunk with a whole lot more technology, being honest, in Necromunda that I'm absolutely in love with. But nobody plays Necromunda in my neck of the woods anymore. At least not that I know of. So it sucks. But then again, my buddy Ben, um, I'm not a fan of Neil Stevenson. Um, if Snow Crash is the one that starts off with the Cyber Ninja pizza delivery service, I did not. I did not like that one. I did not like that book at all. I actually I got so bogged down with the opening sequence of that book, and I don't remember if that is Snow Crash. Yeah, I couldn't stand that. I thought it was the most absolutely over the top, ludicrous. Um, it came off like a parody to me, and I didn't dig that. I know for some people they really like his books, and I will never. There's a wonderful statement. It's Latin, but it basically translates to you can't debate taste. People like what they like, and they dislike what they dislike, and that's a personal taste thing. I know people like Neil's books, Snow Crash, Diamond Age. Those are all for them. They're great cyberpunk books. I couldn't stand them. I couldn't even get through. I could not get through the one. I think that's Snow Crash. I couldn't get through the first chapter of Diamond Age. I was like, this just reads like a parody, and I chucked the book down. And then I tried to read his other one, the Diamond Age, and again, he just I don't like the way I don't like the tone and the voice that he uses in his writing. It's a personal thing. Um, on the other hand, um, like I'm a big fan of Gibson, of Philip K. Dick. Like Philip K. Dick and William Gibson are like the two biggest influences on my writing. When I wrote my cyberpunk novel in 2009, um, I had a fellow cyberpunk author who's another really great author I love, Lida Morehouse. She actually did the dust jacket for my book, and she, without me telling her anything, without her telling me, yeah, I'll get it to you. I gotta get you. I will get it to you. I will absolutely get it to you. Without telling her anything about my book or telling her what she was getting into, because I wanted her to be honest with her dust jacket. Having a fellow cyberpunk author um, dust jacket my book, and somebody who I really like their work, to have her go and refer to my work as Gibson-esque with the level of intrigue I had in there, I was like, because I mean my book is basically it's a murder mystery. Um, And it's like, how do you do a murder mystery in a cyberpunk setting where the technology is so high? I mean, like murder mysteries today, like there's so much technology. They have to make drama out of it. There has to be the drama of the court case and a lot of this stuff because the technology is like, there's your answer. So I had to build a story of a murder mystery in the cyberpunk setting, and it works. It really works. It's a great book. I highly love my book. It's really wonderful. But I mean, she was like, "This is amazing." So I'll get a copy out there. I'll put a PDF. Maybe I'll throw a PDF of it out on my Discord for people to download and read it for free. So at some point, when I do the follow up sequel, which I'll probably do just as a fan book because it's mostly written, I don't need to make money on it. I'm those days are far beyond me. I've got other things I'm working on as far as my writing goes, but I do have the sequel mostly written. Um, But yeah, like Cyberpunk's my jam. So I mean, Ben was showing me that Cyberpunk, the role playing game, which the Cyberpunk 2077 video game is based on. Now, everybody who knows me and follows me on Discord knows how much I play 2077 because I love that stupid game. It's so good. It's so good. And it's based, it's set in Night City, which was the first real setting of the Cyberpunk role-playing game, the old Aratalasorian role-playing game. And there's a new kill team like miniature fighting game based on the gangs of Night City for Cyberpunk, and it looks really good. Like, so I can't wait to see some of the other gangs, but I mean it starts with the big two. It starts with the Tiger Claws and Maelstrom, which are the two big gangs in Night City. Like the Tiger Claws, if you're not familiar with the setting, the Tiger Claws are basically the generic Asian gang, and the Maelstrom are the cyber wackos. They're like almost like cult like. They're like they have to like rip out as much of their body as they can and just see how much more metal they can stuff into themselves. They're sociopaths, they're psychopaths. They have no value for human life. They're really just like, they're not good guys. Well, none of the gangs are good guys. All the gangs are bad guys. I mean, other than maybe the Alcanados, which are really not a gang so much as they're a nomad tribe, but you know. What do you mean the show got really bad though? Oh, Altered Carbon. Altered Carbon. Yes. I disagree that it got bad. I didn't like the second season. I didn't like the second season as much. I liked Altered Carbon. Hi, Antonio, by the way. Good to see you. Yeah, it did. Like the first season is just amazing. Himalayan art. Yeah, second season was just kind of like, okay. Yeah, whatever. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't like awful, but it was like, yeah, that was it fell off a cliff on second season, and then it got canceled. And yeah, I did not grok with that second season of Altered Carbon. I mean, it was like there were parts of it that were just really, really hard to follow, and I don't mean like it was hard to follow because the plot was too deep. It was like you're gonna throw your back out jumping to all these conclusions here. Um, but yeah, I mean that was the beautiful thing about Altered Carbon. Like I said, they had the way they're able to hide the murder in a high tech setting. That was the beauty of it. Um, but I mean, that's the thing, like I said, Cyberpunk is my jam. So, I very much am thinking I'm going to I don't want to get into another game, but luckily it's not a collectible one. It's like you buy a box, you have your army. So I'm going to probably, I'm going to probably get a couple gangs for the Warhammer, I mean, not Warhammer, the Cyberpunk version of Kill Team. I can definitely see me wanting to get the Six Streeters if they eventually have them. Um, the Six Streeters are really fun. I forget the name of the Spanish gang, but I want to get them as well. They're again interesting gang. I can probably just get the starter and just get them all. I mean, is it campaign style? I don't know, Ben. You're gonna have to tell me. Is it campaign style? Because if it's campaign style, then absolutely need to get that. Um, I might need to recommend to my local favorite gaming store that it'd be good if they got it, or at least a couple copies. Um, But I mean, my love of cyberpunk has me looking at, even going and pulling out and building and painting what I have of my Necromunda figures lately. That'd be cool. I'll take a look at it. I really am interested because like I mean I'm gonna use the Necromunda figures anyhow. They make great random gangers for a cyberpunk setting to begin with. You're working getting a distributor for it. Cool, cool. Let me know. I would happily patronize your store for that. Uh, so yeah, like an actual cyberpunk miniatures war game. That I can do terrain in a cyberpunk setting for. I mean, I'm excited. I'm super excited. Like as much as I love 40K and as much as I love Age of Sigmar, anytime I can indulge cyberpunk, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, the whole, corporations own everything, holding people down. People basically exist as just a resource. They have no rights. Oh, I'm not even gonna get into the political ramifications of cyberpunk because, to quote my man William Gibson, I did not write the Sprawl trilogy as a how-to book. Oh, yeah, the punk in cyberpunk rears its nasty head. But I mean, also the aesthetics are so good. If you haven't watched Netrunners, go watch it. Or not Edge Runners, Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix. Go watch it. If you're an anime fan, it's great. If you're a Cyberpunk fan, it's great. If you're a video game fan, it's great. If you just like good animation, it's good. It's got a good story. The Matrix. Oh wow, what a divisive piece of fiction. Um. Okay, I love the Matrix. Like I love all the Matrix. I loved all four movie parts plus the Animatrix add-ins. I know there are people who are like, well, the second and third movie sucked. Nah, they really didn't. They just were a very huge tonal shift, and people weren't expecting that. And I would say, I can't say, oh, I was expecting that, but there is this weird thing that runs through a lot of threads of cyberpunk, which is why Shadowrun wasn't that big, wasn't that big of straight. They are also good. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I get heat for it because I love all of the movies. I love the last one. I love the new one. I thought it was great. I thought it was a wonderful end cap to the storyline. Um, there is this thread that runs through certain pieces of cyberpunk where it's like there's a piece of mysticism involved. That's why, I mean, my wife makes the joke, but I've long considered myself to be the stainless steel druid. Like, I believe in mysticism and I believe in spirituality. I may not be a religious man, but I do believe in spirituality and I do believe in the spiritual self. And, but I'm very much a man of not of nature. Like, I prefer concrete and steel and chrome and mirrored glass and electric lights and neon and the sound of traffic and the hum of electric wires than I do being out in the dead silence in the open sky of middle of freaking nowhere. Oh God, just no, not for me. Nature freaks me out. Ugh, it's just too out there. I got all my nature time in the military. I don't need to ever be out in nature again. It's not my gig. Just not for me, man. But it's the thing. It's like The Matrix, there's this whole thread like, how could he have done that? How could that doesn't make any sense? 'Cause, there's like magic. Yeah, and it was kind of like magic. The whole his eyes are burnt out, but he can still see. He shouldn't be able to do that. He's not in the Matrix. Yeah, there's a level of mysticism that just runs through threads. I mean, even in the most arduous of deep thought type cyberpunk. Um, do androids dream of electric sheep? Spawned the greatest cyberpunk movie ever made. The thing that set the visual tone for the palette that all cyberpunk fiction afterwards would use as its palette. The Blade Runner movie. Blade Runner is actually the original movie. It's a very spiritual movie. That there is that theory that he was always in the Matrix. That is that's a lovely fan theory, and I don't discount that view of it because you can take away whatever truth you want from that, and I'm cool with that. That's good. That's a good take. But you look at like again, you look at Blade Runner. The whole question in Blade Runner is an artificial being. Do they have a soul? Do they have a right to exist? And is it right or wrong for man to play God? And if man plays God and puts life out into the universe, does man have the right to go and snuff it out? And that's the whole point of Blade Runner, at least the first movie. And the interesting point about that it's a wonderful thing because then there's the other question, and I know they answered it in the sequel, and I kind of have to look at the sequel as its own piece because there was such distance between the two movies. But you look at the first movie, and there was always a theory: is he a replicant? Is Harrison Ford's character a replicant? And is he real? Does it matter? Did it matter that he was a replicant? And he was simply a replicant of James Edward Olmos's character, which is another big fan theory thing. Did it matter? Was he real? Was he not real? What does real mean? And Philip K. Dick was amazing at questioning that whole point of what's real and what's not. What is the nature of reality? And where does artificial start and real begin? And if you can't tell the difference between real and unreal, is there a difference? Is there a difference if you're in love with a person, does it matter if they were a replicant? Does it matter if they were an artificially made person? Does it matter if they're an AI? Are you still in love with them? Ghost in the Shell. Oh, the original anime, the original manga. I mean, oh, so heavy dealing with the whole question of the nature of real, the nature of what is a soul? What is the value of a soul? Why does a soul have inherent value? Does a soul have inherent value? Does a soul exist? And is a soul just a reflection of consciousness? Does being birthed from another human being make you real? Or does being self-aware make you real? And does that give you a soul? Does a machine have a soul? And and the reason I ask is because my own book, I that's a big, big theme throughout my whole book, is the whole question of the nature of what is the definition of real? Where does a real person begin and an artificial person end? And what's the difference? So, and cyberpunk's one of those genres where you can ask these really deep metaphysical questions because you're dealing with the idea that AI, which is a big part of it, may or may not be a thing, may or may not be. Is it a real? Is it a person? Is it a memory? Is it an echo? Is it the real person? Is a copy of a person a real person? If I have 3 copies of an engram, a person's entire existence in digital format, and it's awake and alive and can interact, if I have 3 of them of the same thing, are they all the same? Are they all the same soul? Do they not have souls? Are they one being just spread out? Can they merge? Are their experiences different? Or do the moment that they become separate beings, does their existence mean they suddenly become a different being entirely? It's an amazing question. It's an amazing train of thought, and it goes back to the great the great philosophical debate of Theseus's ship. And that, again, that's a big part of cyberpunk is, yes, it's action, yes, it's corporate, yes, it's street gangs and all that, but there's so many deeper themes that run through it. It's wonderful that you can cover this whole breadth with it. Hey, yeah, it's a bunch of gangers with guns and knives. Yay, let's shoot up at him. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong. That's a cool, fun part of the genre. But at the same time, the ship of Theseus. Let's say we're going to use Ben. Ben, we're going to use you. Or even better, we're going to use Lady D. Because we know Lady D has physical issues. So let's say, and if you run edge runners, this is an important point because it's kind of a plot issue mildly in the question of edge runners. So Lady D has a bad back. So in a cyberpunk setting, we remove her back. We put a new back in. She now has a new spinal column and a new nervous system from the neck down. And then Lady D finds that, hey, this new nervous system is great, but if I'm going to have this brand new, and she can swat people with doors, but let's just say, hey, I've got this new nervous system. I want to get new muscles to go with it so that I can exploit the speed that this new digital nervous system has. So we're going to take out all your muscles and we're going to place all your muscles with cybernetic muscles. And oh, wait a minute, but my bones are weak compared to my muscles. I can pick things up and I'm going to break my bones every time I try and use them. So we're going to take all your bones out and we're going to place all your bones with cybernetic bones. So now you don't have any bones, you don't have any muscles. Well, the problem is I'm doing all this stuff in my body, and my heart, my lungs, I can't keep up with everything else. I run out of breath and I hard to because of all the stuff I'm doing with my new body. So let's get a new heart and new lungs in there. And while we're in it, let's just swap out all your organs. Swap out everything inside there. And because you've been doing all these freaking surgeries, well, now your skin's all covered in scars. You can't feel anything. You got this new nervous system, but you can't feel anything. So let's replace your skin with a new cybernetic skin. So now we replace that. And I know Lady D, she can't see very well, so screw it. Let's pop out her eyes. Pop out her eyes, give her new eyes. And while we're in there, why not? Let's give her new ears too. So now we replaced her eyes, her ears, all of her internal parts, everything. At what point does Lady D stop being Lady D? When you've replaced every part so that none of the original parts remain, is she still Lady D? That is the philosophical question of the ship of Theseus. And so that's the interesting point. In In a lot of cyberpunk, they talk about the big thing is that the brain is the one thing you can enhance it, you can add on to it, you can do a lot of things with it, but the brain is the one thing you cannot completely replace, because that is what houses the you. And cyberpunk has gone so far as to go, but we can replace that. In the original Neuromancer, Case's mentor is an engram, a mental backup, a cybernetic AI construct made from a brain recording of a real person. So the real person is physically dead, but there's that copy of them. And if I were to take that Battle Angel Alita, that's another one, another great piece of cyberpunk, dystopian cyberpunk, where they can do and replace everything except the brain. The brain is the one thing they can't replace. They can replace everything. Like Alita is literally nothing but a brain inside of a body that's completely mechanical. It is the brain that makes her herself. And that's the whole question. In Cyberpunk 2077, everybody knows Keanu Reeves is a character. I won't go into the storyline because I don't know who's actually played the game or who intends to play in the game. But and you find this out very quickly. Keanu Reeves' character is a engram of who he is. Yeah. Again, that's a very big question in because they replaced every last piece of him and they put him back together. But is it not him anymore? It doesn't have the Mind Stone, so it's not him. Is it him? He has his memories. Does he stop because? And that again, it's again his synthetic life. That's something that didn't come across as much in That's something that didn't come across as much in the TV show as the comic book that it's based on. The WandaVision, the whole story with Vision, specifically what happened to Vision, is in a storyline from like 86, 85, 86, 87. I forget when about that area. It was drawn and written by John Byrne, the titan of the comic industry that he is, in West Coast Avengers, called Vision Quest. Vision in the comics is a little different than he is in the TV show or in the MCU, in that he was a completely synthetic being that was mechanical, but it's not vibranium, but it was just mechanical. That's the way they left him. He's a synthezoid. He is 100% made to be a complete duplicate of a human being, except he's made with mechanical parts. Like everything replicates a human being except that it's mechanical. And then when he was created, the engram of another hero, another superhero, was imprinted on his mechanical brain to give him morals. And in Vision Quest, what happens is Vision gets disassembled because he got basically infected with a computer virus and did some crazy ass shit and tried to take over the world. And when they took him apart, they lost that imprint of the person that he was imprinted on. That was imprinted on him, I should say. And that hero who was dying when he gave that imprint is now alive again. Because, superheroes, they die and come back to life. It's just the reality of superheroes. So this superhero is a member of that team, because since he's been back, he and Vision, they get along great. They're like brothers. They act like brothers. They have a great relationship. But now they put Vision back together and like, well, Vision's wife because they actually got married in the comics. Vision's wife, Scarlet Witch, is like, well, he's not really himself. He's devoid of emotion and his personality. You know, can we just get a new engram of you and we can apply it to him and then we'll have our old Vision back? And that's when the character that had the engram of him taken makes the point, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have the old Vision back. You have me in an artificial body. Vision fell in love with you because he's me. He's an artificial fake version of me. And I was okay with him being a fake version of me if it made you happy. But he is not him, he's me. And now he's back to what he should be. And now I'm here, the real me, the living me, and I'm in love with you, and we should be together. And she didn't like that and went crazy and dropped a mountain on him. But that's the whole thing, is that the whole argument was he's really him. Well, no, he's been completely wiped. We're starting fresh. We're going to put a new one on him. It's the same him. It's not the same him, but it is. But it's not. But it is. Does he have a soul? Well, he has a copy of a soul. It's not a real soul. He's a mechanical. And it was a beautiful piece of writing by John Byrne. I love that he put that together. But what was that show about the electric sheep? That's Blade Runner, the movie. It comes from a short story called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Or at least the very basic pieces of it come from that story. It's a short story. I mean, there's so much more added to it that's not in that story. But yes, there is, and it's amazing because there Philip K. Dick's dreams and something or other. Yes, and it's based on his other short stories, and it's amazing. If you haven't watched it, go out and watch it. If you have watched it, they're great. I mean, like I said, Philip K. Dick he's a cyberpunk author, but he's also very much, he was part of the 60s psychedelia crowd. And so he took a lot of really mind altering drugs. So he really questions the nature of what is reality a lot. He's also, believe it or not, the father of a lot of very famous TV, or I should say movies, that were taken from stories that he wrote. The Minority Report, not Running Man. That's Stephen King. What do you call it? The Memories Wholesale. Scanner Dark. Yes, a Scanner Darkly. Probably one of the. When you want to talk about the question of reality, that's a great one. Scanner Darkly. Oh gosh, the Schwarzenegger movie with Sharon Stone that they did a remake of. It's on Mars. Why can I not? I can never remember the name of this damn movie. Total Recall. Thank you. Total Recall. But yeah, Total Recall, Minority Report, oh man, the Adjustment Bureau. There's a lot of aspects from Loki that are taken from his short stories. He's actually mentioned in a side. There's a piece of his stuff that's actually in a sidebar there as an Easter egg about him, because one of his big concepts was alternate realities. There's Paycheck. There's anytime you really ever see a movie that deals with your questioning, is this real or not? Check if it's based on a story based on him, because he was a very prolific writer. It's amazing the number of movies that and things that are written. I'm going to quick look here because he is literally like one of my heroes. And it's crazy because he's like one of the godfathers of cyberpunk, but he's like there's so many okay, so let's just start off with like his big ones. Man in the High Castle, um which was recently done into a uh a mini series of movies. Um gosh, I'm quick looking here to pull up all the stuff that he had movies made out of. Just looking at the stuff he wrote. Um, Vulcan's Hammer, The Cosmic Puppet, Solar Lottery, Eye in the Sky, The Broken Bubble. Oh, these are all such good pieces. Uh, Confessions of a Crap Artist, actually a really funny book. The Man in the High Castle, um, We Can Build You, which is an amazing. The Martian Time Slip, um, Dr. Blood Money, or How We Got Along After the Bomb, The Simulacra, The Crack in Space, The Zap Gun, which is, again, a great piece. Dandridge, Dream of Electric Sleep, Ubik, probably one of his really best pieces, but it's really about reality, the nature of reality. They've been trying to convert that into a movie for like the last 50 years, and it's so hard, but it's just, oh. Flow My Tears, the policeman said. My gosh, such a great piece. A Scanner Darkly, Radio Free Albemuth, Valis, the transmogrification of Timothy Archer. I mean, he's just such a powerful, powerful writer. Um, I mean, his collections of short stories are just fantastic. And then, okay, so his film adaptations, um, Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall, Jerome Balvin's Confessions d'un Banjo, or Barjo. It's a Spanish-made film. It's really great. Um, um, Christian Digay's Screamers, Spielberg's Minority Report, Gary Fielder's Imposter, John Woo's Paycheck, Richard Linklater's A Scanner Darkly, Lee Tamahori's Next, John Allen Simon's Radio Free Albemuth, um, uh, George Nolfi's Adjustment Bureau, the Len Wiseman retake of Total Recall, and then that series, Electric Dreams, made from The Hoodmaker, Impossible Planet, The Commuter, Sales Pitch, Exhibit Piece, Human Is, The Father Thing, Autothok, Doctor Your or Foster Your Dead, and The Hanging Stranger. Such a great series. Like four of those stories are like some of my favorite all-time short stories. Um Again, great pieces. I mean, you're talking about pieces of fiction based on the concept of what's real, what's not real, what is existence. And this is something that Philip K. Dick was exploring back in the 50s and early 60s and continued up until his death in the very, very early 80s. And I mean, he had such a huge impact on writers, a lot of writers, a lot of TV, a lot of movie, a lot of questioning reality. They call back to Philip K. Dick about what is real, what is the nature of real. And this is a guy that basically he didn't write cyberpunk to be cyberpunk. He wrote cyberpunk because it felt like that was where the world was going, and that was the world he imagined where we were going, and just, you know, there would be a point when people could just go, oh, I'm just going to buy a new body. I'm just going to buy a new brain. I'm just going to buy a new this and buy a new that. And consumerism was just the thing. And people would be manufactured for jobs. And people would go and have children. And now we can't have children. We're just going to go have one manufactured. So we can just have a 3-year-old and not have to do with the first 3 years of the bullshit of raising a kid. So, and I mean, you talk about movies like that. Eggs Extends is an amazing flick with that, with Jennifer Jason Leigh and um oh gosh, what is his name? But again, a great flick. Eggs Extends, Run Lola Run. If you ever want to see an interesting foreign movie that will keep your attention, Run Lola Run is Jude Law. Thank you, Jude Law, and uh, just a fabulous movie. I really love that movie. Run Lola Run's another one that's just really great about the questioning of, think of like it's like a cyberpunk Groundhog Day, except it's all based on choices. So the movie happens and something happens, and then you start back off at the beginning of the movie again, like 20 minutes in. And now she makes a different, the lead character, Lola, she makes a different decision. And you get to see how it plays out. And it's a 2.5 hour movie of the same 20 minutes or so replayed out with different decisions made. And sometimes decisions make that 20 minutes 5 minutes long. One of them I think is like 90 seconds long, and one of them makes it almost like a half an hour. It's an interesting movie. It's very entertaining. You got to be able to deal with subtitles because it's in German, but it is a really, really good movie. Gattaca, another, again, that's the whole thing. I mean, you're talking about the guy that's the father of that, and that's the father of cyberpunk. That him and Gibson basically went, we're going to create a world where everything is up for sale. Everything is for sale. What's real? Does real even mean anything anymore? And again, that's and as you can tell, as we're already an hour into the show, and this is all we've talked about, you can tell how passionate I am about stuff like this. And I think it's great because, hey, we're a gaming channel. We're talking about, philosophy and fiction and science fiction. And I love it. 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 Because it all comes back to, that shared nerddom, that shared geekery. What's real? I'm wondering if Gattaca is the one that's I'm trying to remember if that was Gattaca or not, where two brothers, one of them was genetically tweaked, so he's absolutely perfect. And to go into be this program on another planet, you have to be like physically perfect. You have to be everything perfect. And that was Gattaca, yes. That movie is such a good movie. Such an amazing movie. I love that movie so much. Oh. This is why, and okay, I'm going to give a shout out for those of you that aren't aware, but I think everybody here is aware, but at least they'll be on my channel in the future. My buddy Antonio here, him and my buddy Tick, they have a podcast where they talk about movies called The Minorities Report. And I give it a shout out because I love it. I love their stuff. I love when they talk about their stuff because I love the perspective that the two of them give it as being younger gentlemen than me from that generation of millennials, that next generation, an older millennial and a younger millennial, and that whole perspective on the world. And I love it because you can look at, they've changed my views on movies I thought were classic. They've made me go back and look at movies that I loved and went, God, this is crap, and just literally rip it out of my top 10 all time, top 15, top 20 all time. I had a movie that I would have sworn unquestionably was just such a great movie. I loved it so much. And it was, so much of it was nostalgia for that movie. Ben, you're going to get shot. because I think Tick's borderline. I think Tick's borderline between being a Gen X and a millennial. Mm-hmm. But no, I got to give a shout out to Antonio because he made me rethink about a couple of movies that I absolutely loved. Oh, I got to see what you guys got to say about that one. Because I'm in the minority here. I know that. I can't stand that movie. I could not. That was one of the few movies I was like, it's okay. Because to me, Ferris Bueller screamed at me of rich kid entitlement. Nothing but just straight up rich kid entitlement. And I just could not stand that movie. Ugh. So I'm looking forward to see what you guys have to say about that movie. But yeah, like I used to love the movie 16 Candles. I'm like, nope, gone, be gone. You are out of out of my beloved list. Be gone. And a lot of it was because I honestly, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I mean, Fast Times at Ridgemont High was problematic when it came out. So I don't know. I mean, it was problematic when it came out. Yeah, and you know, it was one of those things. I used to love that movie, and it was all nostalgia. You hit it right on the head. It was completely nostalgia that made me love that movie. I went back and rewatched it. I'm like, I couldn't. I literally was like, wow, God, this was awful. Nothing was as bad as Blazing Saddles. Wow. Okay. Woo. Woo. Hot take. Hot take. Hot take. Ooh. Rather than Fast Times, I would actually really like to see them. I'd like to see if you guys take a look at Less Than Zero. A Andrew McCarthy, Robert Downey Jr., and James Spader in 1987 or 1988. Oh, I mean, again, super. I don't even need to think about that one. I was looking at time. I was like, that's funny. Wait a minute. Literally, there's a scene in that movie. That's fun. Wait a minute. It was a just the light went off. Even back then, I'm like, hang on. I'm not. But that's all I'm saying. You're gonna get to a scene and you're gonna be like, hang on a minute, and you're gonna know exactly the scene I'm talking about because you and I have had conversations. You're gonna see that scene and you're gonna be like, hold up a minute. How did this make it into this movie? How? And you're gonna be like, okay, I know what you're talking about. I swear you'll see that scene and be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, I won't spoil anything, but terrible movie. Terrible movie. God. Let's get back to good movies. Less Than Zero. Less Than Zero. James Spader, Andrew McCarthy, Robert Downey Jr. You see those three names and you go, and the lead is Andrew McCarthy and Jamie Gertz. James Spader and Robert Downey Jr. are the secondaries, and Andrew McCarthy's the lead. Really? But there's your dating of that movie. That is a powerful movie from that era. I love that movie. I absolutely love that movie. Um, Problematic though. There are some problematic aspects of that movie, but they're problematic in the context that they're taken right from the book that was written about him. And it's interesting because the book that Less Than Zero is based on is set in the same world, written by the same writer as American Psycho. Um, I forget which character it is, but Christian Bale's character in American Psycho is the older brother of a secondary character, if I remember right. He's related to one of the characters in Less Than Zero. There's a couple books that this writer wrote, and they're all related. And every one of the movies is kind of freaking disturbing, but they're all. I mean, American Psycho, Less Than Zero, same world. So you're getting already the darkness you're talking there. If you liked American Psycho, I think you'll like Less Than Zero. Same tone of book, I think. Although with 15 years of difference in filmmaking there, so there are some aspects that they couldn't really cover. Time Bandits. Let's talk about good films. Talking about the nature of reality. There is a Japanese film anime called Paprika. Oh man, the dreams and the crossing between dreams and reality. Brazil's an interesting film. Um, I don't know if it's a great film, but it's an interesting film. It's one of those films that you watch and then debate for about a half hour after you've watched it. It's definitely, hey, we're gonna watch this movie and then talk about it afterwards. It's not a bad film. It's just very interesting, very different. I was gonna say, if we're also talking about that era of films, like just kind of like messing with your brain kind of films. I already mentioned Eggs Extends. Um, hmm, yeah, I mean, I think that's all the really good ones. There's a few out there, but yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen A Scanner Darkly, freaking watch it, man. As a film, it's fantastic, and again, an amazing cast: Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder. Pointing out one of the big reasons and Keanu Reeves, one of the big reasons Winona Ryder is actually involved with that film. Philip K. Dick, the writer, was her godfather. Like he and her family are like old friends, and he was her godfather. And it's Scanner Darkly. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, Scanner Darkly is such a fabulous film. I mean, uh, the fact that they didn't have to do special effects because everything was rotoscoped, and they could do the drug induced hallucinations. Ugh, man, that movie is just so. Oh gosh, such a good film. The book, if you read the book, because the book is amazing, and yeah, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. Um, he's a great filmmaker. I mean, his films are all labors of love. I mean, that's an honest truth there. Like, I don't know how big of a catalog he has because I know he had a shorter film, and I can't remember the name of it, but that's what led to him getting a scanner darkly, and he had a hard time convincing people because that rotoscoping method he puts his films through is tough. I mean, it's a massive production sink, but oh, so good, so good. Um, Waking Life, yes, yes. Check out another great piece. Oh, okay, okay. Ooh. Um, if you ever need a movie to be traumatized by, no, I try not to bring it up too much. I like the movie, but I know it's traumatic as hell. Kids. I mean, there are some people who hate that movie because of how traumatic it is. I enjoy the movie, but again, I can't watch it very often. I probably haven't watched it in at least 5 years now because it's just like, uh, yeah. Um, there's another guy that deals with, you know, affectations on reality and hard, cold aspects of reality. I mean, honestly, Aronofsky, who, I mean, modern day dystopia films. I mean, he doesn't even have to go into the futuristic dystopia. He can just do modern day dystopic films. Freaking uh Death of the American Dream. Not Death of the American Dream. Is it Death of the American Dream? But The Wrestler, Black Swan. Oh, whew, great films, but just the weight from those films. They hit hard. Yeah, Darren Aronofsky. Uh, I mean, The Wrestler is probably. I mean, I've seen The Wrestler 3 times, and it's still probably one of my favorite films. But I can't watch it. Like, it's so hard to watch because I mean it's so gut wrenching and so heart wrenching and so powerful, and it's just you watching somebody lose control of who they are and why they are and what they are because they have to. I don't think I've seen The Fountain. Yeah, I mean, we're searching to have movie nights. We should watch more anime, huh? I mean, and again, you want to talk about manga and anime. I mean, again, we already talked about Ghost in the Shell. Um, but it's surprising how much futuristic anime takes its look from Blade Runner. The entire Bubblegum series of OVAs, Bubblegum Crisis, Bubblegum Crash, Bubblegum Reborn, I think it is. Um, they're the main tower in the center of that movie or series where the bad guys exist is literally almost a carbon copy of the tower from the main building that is in Blade Runner and a lot of I mean Akira. Oh, again, the nature of reality. The movie, I love the movie, but it so does not do the manga justice. The manga is like, you don't want to be that guy like, well, the book is so much better than the movie, blah, blah, blah. I mean, but in the case of Akira, as good as the movie is, the manga is like 50 times better. And the main reason it's 50 times better is because, well, I mean, it's not just the first chapter, the first 2 chapters and the last chapter. There's like 17 chapters in the middle that they didn't cut out. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Akira movie. It is, again, one of my favorites. It's a great piece. And if you compare it to the manga, specifically, if you compare it directly to the manga, it's trash. And I love it, but it's trash compared to the manga. The manga is so much better because there's so much more going on and there's so much more depth. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. Akira, the movie, is fantastic. I'll see you on Thursday as well, sir. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of manga, guys, go and find the original Akira manga and read it. Because again, it's very cyberpunk. Very much cyberpunk. But again, if you've seen the movie is the first two chapters of Akira and then the last chapter. And you missed like 17 chapters of story in between. And it's all wrong. I mean, because you don't get anything in the middle, there's things that they just don't do in that last chapter that tie things up that don't make any damn sense. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I love the movie. The movie, if you look at the movie on its own, by its own, standalone, it's amazing. I love it. Compared to the manga, it's trash. It's straight trash. And that's hard to say. I would love to see them readapt it as a series and do it as a series and stick to the manga storyline. Because you begin to understand that you get to understand that Kaneda's gang and the clowns, there's more going on there. There's other gangs. There's other things at war in the city that there's an event that's talked about. The reason Neo Tokyo is what it is, there is this event, and that event is important, and the event comes back like, oh, it was Akira. Well, it gets implied. In the manga, they line out exactly what went on. And there's so much more explanation about so many things, and there's so much deeper story. And it's just, there's so many things you miss. And it is just about 9 o'clock. And we have spent an hour and a half celebrating my 700 viewers, my 700 subscribers, and not talking jack shit about Warhammer. But we're talking about gaming. Cyberpunk gaming. Cyberpunk role-playing game. Shadowrun. And the Cyberpunk war game. I look forward to these conversations every week. You guys are a massive relief off my shoulders, especially when I've had a bad week or a bad day or a bad time. Luckily, the last few days I've been on the up and up. So, good brain chemicals going on. So, this next week, I challenge everyone out there to find one of Philip K. Dick's short stories or go out to Netflix and watch, or I think it's on Amazon, and watch one of the episodes of Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. Because those are like his best 10 short stories, not going to lie. And they're all classics, and some of them you'll recognize, like, oh, there was a movie made about this, or there's a classic episode of Twilight Zone, or something of this, something of that made of this. Yeah, they were adapted multiple times. Because Philip K. Dick is a master of science fiction. And until then, roll some dice, expand your mind, and challenge yourself. Am I the real me? Or am I an alternate universe version of myself? And if you are the alternate universe, what's different between today and yesterday that changed the world? Like, why is the sky green today? I don't know. Until then, stay epic.